If you've been at a loss of what to draw lately, then these 13 drawings are for you. We're going to go step by step through these 13 drawings that are perfect for beginners, and we're going to turn that blank page that you have into this. So let's grab some supplies and get started. So to get started today, our very first flower is going to be the tulip. We're just going to work on the shapes in pencil first, and then we'll go on with fine liner and paint if you'd like to. But to start our tulip, tulips are, if they are open, they're usually kind of a rounded, elongated body. So I usually draw my tulips in a very long oval shape, and my tulips usually have about 4 or 5 petals. The petals at the top can be a little bit fluttery. They're not going to be uniform, but they'll have some edges to them. And I always keep the bottom of the tulip quite rounded. Now the next flower we're going to draw is my nemesis, the rose. I find it so difficult to draw, but when we're doing kind of light, easy doodle roses, they're a lot more accessible. So how I start my roses is I start in the center and I make the letter Y, a loose, open Y. And then I start to kind of build out in layers the petals from that. So I start with tiny little bumps along the center in the middle, and then I start to build out with those kind of C shapes to build those petals out in layers. And for all of my flowers today, I'm going to make a very simple stem because I have plans for them for another project. Now, I don't think that rose looks half bad, and to kind of take a break and have an easier flower, we're going to do a stem of lavender next. Lavender is super easy to draw because it just has 2 or 3 petals that come off the stem in intervals until you get to the very top. Now for our fourth flower, we're going to do a very springy buttercup. These are very easy to draw. They're just going to have 5 petals or so, and you're going to have them kind of in a teardrop shape, and there's going to be a little bit of flutteriness at the ends of each petal. And again, we're just drawing the main shape right now. We'll go in with details to make these a little bit more realistic doodles later on. Leave a little bit in the middle and add a stem, and we're good for that one. Now the next set of doodle flowers I don't actually have a name for. I don't know if they are real, they're just kind of flowers from my imagination, because why not? They are going to have very almost pointy leaves, and there's going to be or petals I should say. There's going to be 3 at the top and 3 on the bottom, so each flower will have 6 petals. And because 3 is a pleasing number to look at, I'm just going to do a bunch of these flowers in a group of 3. That's it, very simple. Now we're going to move on to the poppy flower. Poppies have their petals facing upwards, kind of in a bowl shape. So we're going to make those teardrop petals again, keeping the ends loose and fluttery. And for the 2 petals that are closest to us, we're going to just draw a line down at the bottom that would indicate that they're flipped up a little bit. So it gives the flower a lot more movement this way. Now our next flower is the cone flower, or also called echinacea, and this one's really interesting to me because it has a very interesting shape. So you're going to start by making a half circle for the pistil at the very top, or the center of the flower, and all of these petals face downwards, unlike the one we just did. They're going to be very elongated oval petals with a lot of movement and flutter at the ends. and I do recommend starting with that first center petal and building outwards towards the back of the flower. Now the last flower we're going to draw is the cosmos flower, and this one is similar to the poppy and cone, but the cosmos is kind of a flatter flower. It's not going to face downwards and it's not going to be a bowl shape. It's just kind of flatter petals. Now these petals are a little bit wider, but we are going to do those elongated ovals again with a lot of flutter at the ends, but try to keep those petals facing in a flat direction rather than up or down. Now this one as well is going to have some of those petals that are going to flip up nearest us. So we're going to do the same thing. We'll just do a line at the bottom of the petal, and that will kind of show us that it has a little bit of a flip or movement to it. So you have just created 8 beautiful flowers, and we're going to round these off with 5 more botanical illustrations, and we're going to make some greenery and leaves so that you can add it in as you see fit. Now as we're creating these different leaf shapes, I'm just going to draw these with pencil first, but I am going to go in with some interesting details into the leaves later on with my fine liners. But some of these leaves are going to be long, some of them are going to be round, some of them are going to kind of be irregular shaped. So just get creative with this and follow along so you can have 5 different leaves that kind of match what you're drawing. So now that we're done all of our pencil drawings, we're going to go in with some of our fine liners or our ink and just kind of finalize everything and polish everything up. Now what I use are my micron pens. I usually go in with an 05 or an 03 nib to do some outlining, and those are for the big general shapes. So you can see me outlining here. And then when I want to go in for some of the finer detail lines, I go in with a 003. It's a very, very fine nib, as you can see here. But an 01 will do fine as well. I just prefer the 003 ones. Now, as you're making some of the detailed marks on all of these flowers, kind of keep in mind that you want to make some fine lines down at the bottom where the stem is. And I always do a couple of little lines at the top of the petals where we've made some of those fluttery folds. So if you do some of those lines, just a tiny little dash or even a dot, it kind of helps to create some movement in that flower and some interest and realism as well. Now for a lot of these flowers, because they're kind of on the doodle side, I'm just going in and making a couple of little dots in the middle as well. The coneflower does have these little mini triangles for its center, but everything else I'm just going to be doing the dots. Now the leaf details are a little bit more stylized. I kind of like to do like one main stem up the middle of each leaf, but then it's also kind of interesting to do, I do like 3 lines at the bottom, 3 lines at the top. It's kind of interesting looking. There's lots of ways to add some of that veining to those leaves that make it look interesting. But here you go, you have completed all 13 of your flower and leaf doodles and drawings, and I think they look fabulous. So you can leave it here, or you can go and add some paint or color, whatever you want. I'm going to be adding a little bit of watercolor to these just because I have a project for these in mind, which you'll see at the end of the video. But if you are going to do some painting, go get your paints out now. Now, I am no watercolorist, at least at this point in my life, but I do love putting a little bit of like a general wash over some of my drawings that I do. So I do have a plan for some of these flowers, so I'm just going to add some complementary colors that all of these kind of match each other. So I'm just going to speed through that right here, but add a nice wash onto your drawings if you wish, and bring some of those flowers to life. And here we go. This is your finished product. We've gone through our drawing process, our inking process, and now some of our watercolor process. And this is your final result. I would love to know how your flowers have turned out and which one was your favorite, which one maybe is your least favorite. Maybe you really like roses. But I hope you have enjoyed this whole process as much as I have. Now I hope you've enjoyed this video, and I hope you've created some beautiful artwork. And if you would like to turn all of your beautiful drawings you've just made into a beautiful card, you can click the video right here. And until next time, happy making, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.